What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 128 of the Nest Podcast. I'm your boy Brandon, joined as always by my co-host Zach. Zach, what's up, my man? How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Man, I'm just loving life. I've got my whole new computer display set up. I've upgraded here, so I'm ready to rock and roll. You know, I actually feel like I'm in the most professional podcast studio of all time right now. I've got screens to the left of me, screens to the right of me, and jokers in the middle. So it's all good to go. But speaking of jokers in the middle, one of the things that came up this week that we have got to talk about was the big decision that UFC put out there. You know, I think it was Adam that said that what kind of LeBron James going to South Beach bullshit is this? And that pretty much what it was, because it was Khabib Nurmagomedov making his whole decision if he's going to actually stay retired or if he's going to come back and fight. You know, looking back, we on episode 116, we spent a good amount of time talking about Khabib's retirement and about, you know, the impact that it would leave in that division. But now possibly the lightweight champ is coming back. Interesting. I've got a little clip queued up right now that I would like to play. That's Dana actually talking about that issue, about what's going on with them. So if you want, go ahead and get us set up for that, and I'll play our clip. All right, so possibility that Khabib is going to be back fighting in the octagon against, you know, one of these guys that have a fight lined up this weekend. You know, January 23rd, we've got the Poirier and Conor fight, which, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are salivating to see, because anytime Conor gets a chance to fight, it's you know, must see TV. But they also mentioned Oliveira. That's pretty interesting to me. Oliveira is the dude that just recently beat up Tony Ferguson. Could he be deserving of that shot?
Yeah, I think he's definitely absolutely a huge up and comer. Funny enough, I wasn't able to hear that audio, so I don't know if the people watching were able to hear that or what was going on there. But basically, Dana said that Khabib is going to sit out and watch the outcome of 257 and see if any of those guys give him a reason to come back and fight.
Yeah, that's my bad. I didn't check the button. You should have interrupted it and said something, Zach.
That's fine.
Oh well, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that sucks. My bad. Rookie mistake on my end. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Basically, Dana is, you know, waiting on, you know, one of these guys to do something that, you know, Khabib said, show me something, impress me, and I'll come back and fight. So, you know, let's not put all of our eggs in that basket, because, you know, Khabib could just very well walk away. But it's worth noting that Khabib's father wanted him to retire at 30-0. Right now, the man sits at 29-0. So it may be, you know, something that he comes back for one more fight because he thinks that he's got to, you know, prove it to his dad or whatever.
Sure. What's weird about Khabib's whole thing is, like, at first he was saying if if he can't fight with his dad in his corner, he's not going to fight, and this and that and the other. He's said before he doesn't want to fight Conor again. He doesn't need to fight him again. All signs point to a rematch with Conor if all goes well. I mean, unless Dustin Poirier has the fight of his life or something, or catches Conor in a submission. A lot of people are saying that Conor is going to win this, and then eventually that would lead to a rematch with Khabib. I think that's the ultimate move for him. If he can beat Conor again divisively, then he's the ultimate GOAT in the entire sport, and there's no question anymore. And I think in the back of his mind, that's what Khabib is trying to get at, without kind of going about it in Conor's way. You know what I mean?
See, I want to lean the other way. I want to say, like he beat up Conor. I know it took him to the fourth round to tap him out or whatever, but I haven't seen anything from Conor that suggests that it's going to go any differently next time. I would rather see Khabib go up against somebody like Oliveira, somebody that's young, younger, hungry, and has been on a very, very meteoric rise as of late. He punked Tony Ferguson. So that's the fight that I would rather see, but it is what it is. I guess the UFC is going to match make it for however they're going to book the most amount of money.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Let's move in and talk about the division playoffs. We just got over the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and it's something that, we pretty much predicted from the beginning all the way through. We predicted all 4 games were going to go exactly that way, and that's how they ended up. Of course, it started off with the Packers steamrolling the Rams. We pretty much called that. We figured that it was going to be one of those things where the Packers were the much better team. We got some people saying that they can't watch.
Yeah, they're commenting, which I don't understand how you can comment on it, but you can't watch it. That is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got it pulled up right here on my phone, and it's working just fine. So we got to assume it's something on their end. Anyway, the Packers steamrolled the Rams. This was easily the easiest game of the entire week to predict because, like we said, the Rams really didn't belong there. They barely were able to get past the Seahawks last week. Let's see. I just got a text from Jim. He said, nobody can watch your stream. Go to the actual Nest page.
Yeah, it's working on the Nest page. I wonder if there's something up with the Trash Talk group.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to.
But yeah, anyway, like you were saying, I'm sure anybody who's listening to the podcast is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, this is riveting podcast audio right now.
The Rams were barely able to skirt past the Seahawks. And I thought definitely that this would be the ultimate test for the Packers. If they could go up against that defense, if Jalen Ramsey could shut down Devontae Adams, and if Aaron Donald could get to Aaron Rodgers, then they might have a problem. But it didn't really pan out that way. The Packers definitively won that game.
No, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't really affected by Aaron Donald at all. It's looking more and more likely that the Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP of the entire league. He's, people are jumping on that. We've been saying it now for 4 or 5 weeks that he was, the MVP and should be the MVP this season. Finally, some of these other talking heads are starting to get on board with that. Earlier today, I saw Stephen A. Smith jumped on board and said that he was definitively the MVP, which to me is kind of weird that he's going to say that after the divisional round of the playoffs when the MVP is a regular season award, but that's Stephen A. for you. But that being said, he may be the MVP of the league, but Devontae Adams is the most valuable Packer. Without him, Aaron Rodgers just isn't the same guy. And Devontae Adams was frustrating Jalen Ramsey the entire game. He was moving around. He was getting him out of sync pre-snap. And then once the ball was snapped, Ramsey didn't even know where to go. It was just one of those things. And he's been doing that all season. Adams has been the best player from the wide receiver position all season long. And, I've got a clip right here that's going to show how frustrated Ramsey was.
Hit that button so we can hear it.
We don't need to hear it. It's just him running around. And then look, boom.
Yeah.
Ramsey was a good 5 yards away
and
and he immediately starts throwing a little temper tantrum about it.
Yeah.
We'll see it again. Here's Adams pre-snap moving around and then sprints back to the other side. He thought Ramsey thought, oh, he's going to stay here. He wasn't even close.
Wide open. And I'm sure Ramsey was saying somebody should have picked him up. Well,
yeah.
If the play is man coverage, then that's your man. So
he turns and instantly starts, chewing out his teammates. And then I'll let it play for just another minute or so because you'll see that Ramsey actually starts cursing at his coaches and stuff like that on the sidelines. Yeah. This is exactly why the Jacksonville Jaguars got rid of him. This is exactly why they didn't want him, because he's just so much drama. Look, here he is stomping and yelling at other people like, you got to help me out. You got to do this. Look, and now he's sitting here yelling at his coach.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
He's like the TO of cornerbacks. He's extremely talented, but boy, does he come with some attitude and baggage.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He absolutely does. It's not anything that, one of the best corners in the league should carry with him, but that's what he does.
Yep.
Let's see. We must be having some issues with this. I'm getting messages from people saying that they can't even find it on the Nest podcast page, but I'm finding it with no problem. So I don't know what the deal is.
I've got it pulled up on my phone, so I don't know what could be the case.
Oh, well, whatever. We'll just go on with it. As long as it's recording, we can post it out to the podcast. They can listen to it later on in their headsets.
Yep.
They don't have to watch us live. It's just us sitting here anyway. It's not like it's anything that special that you have to see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's working on YouTube. I just pulled it up on YouTube as well. So
right. Whatever, man. Anyway, let's move on. We talked about the Packers and the Rams. That was an easy one to predict. The Bills knocking out the Ravens. And I say that a little bit tongue in cheek because, the Bills knocked out Lamar Jackson to the point that he had to leave the game with a concussion. So it is what it is. We do hope that Lamar is okay and he makes a full recovery, but I think he'll be fine. He's a young man. He'll bounce back. But the Bills were playing with a 27-year-long chip on their shoulder in this game, and they were definitely the aggressors coming out. What did you think about the Bills and their path to the AFC Championship now?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was not easy, but also at the same time, they put them away. I would say so. I'd say the first half of that game was slowish. But man, yeah, they absolutely belong in the AFC Championship, and I think we kind of expected that. Lamar, it's either Lamar wins the game or he loses it. That Ravens team 100% depends on him.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's kind of the way that the Chiefs go too. But it is what it is. The Ravens, they just couldn't get it going. And when Lamar went down, it was pretty much the final nail in that coffin. And it is what it is. Yeah. We've got the Bills moving on, and I'm pretty excited for that. That's a fan base that I'm very excited for. Like I mentioned, 27 years they've been without a playoff run or an AFC Championship run. And they showed the ultimate class at the end of the game by a lot of their fans turning and donating money to Lamar's charity.
Yeah, that was cool.
So it's pretty cool to see whenever a fan base actually wins people over, and it's not just the team that's out there winning. So hopefully they can stick it to the Chiefs, because I'm sick of all the Chiefs mania that's going on in the world.
Now you know how people that aren't Patriots fans feel.
Well, they're just dumb. Patriots fans are the best fans on the planet because, we've accepted the defeat humbly. We've known that we are in a rebuild and that things are not going as according to plan. And we're taking it with a grain of salt. Chiefs fans, on the other hand, are just shoving it down people's throat that they've hosted now. This will be their third straight AFC championship game. They're boasting like they've already built that dynasty. The Pats won 6 Super Bowls in 20 years. They deserve to be able to flex. The Chiefs have won 1 in 50 years. So there's a big difference there.
Right.
But the Chiefs, speaking of, they survived the Browns. Like they didn't go out and crush. They didn't go out and show that they're the best team on the planet. They move on, and they do get to host the three straight conference championships, which is the first time in the AFC that's ever happened. There's only one NFC team that's ever done that, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was coached by, guess who? Andy Reid. So that man's got quite the feather that he can put in his cap after all of this, but we'll see. I don't think they make it. I don't think they make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, especially if Mahomes is questionable, which it seems like he's going to be.
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody thought that he left the game with a concussion, but I was seeing reports earlier today that it's actually not a concussion. He had a tweaked nerve in his neck. So when he got tackled, it kind of bent his neck forward and it pinched a nerve or tweaked a nerve or whatever. And whenever he tried to stand up, he pretty much had that dead leg. Like he couldn't really put any weight. His ankle kind of rolled on him. Like his teammates had to grab him and help pick him up. So if it is a pinched nerve or, a tweaked nerve or whatever it is they're calling, I don't know if he gets to come back in a week. I don't know if he gets to play 7 days later. That's a $500 million quarterback that you don't really want to risk losing him for his entire career by sending him out there with some kind of neurological injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see it, and if that is the case, if Mahomes isn't 100% or isn't even able to suit up at all, then they're going to trot Chad Henne out there. And yeah, he made some plays. He actually made the decisive play in the game that allowed them to be able to take the knee at the end of the game. A 3rd and 13, he scrambled for 12 yards and then completed a 4th and 1 pass to get that last first down. So, but Chad Henne's not the answer. Chad Henne's not going to win you the game against the Bills.
Yeah.
You need Patrick Mahomes to go out there and be that dueling gunslinger mentality so that you can keep up with them, because the Bills are going to put up some points against them.
Yeah, if it does turn out to be the case that Pat Mahomes can't play, boy, you gotta almost give it to the Bills at that point. Like you said, Chad Henne can apparently do some things, but for 4 quarters against the Bills defense, I don't believe it. And I think that's if it were a normal game, that would be a game that I think would just be a quarterback duel to see who could score more. And I don't think that Henne can keep up with Josh Allen. So that'll be very interesting to watch that and see what happens. Does Pat Mahomes somehow just make the start or whatever they're going to do with that? Or do they, like you said, play it safe and keep their $100 million+ quarterback safe and keep him out? I have no idea. I would say keep the kid safe, because this Super Bowl isn't the end all be all. He's got a lot of football left to play in his career. So I wouldn't risk anything permanent just to win this year.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you, but at the same time, it's the playoffs. These NFL teams, NFL franchises, they play to win in the playoffs, and they want to put their best players out there. So if he's at all even capable of going out there and playing, he's going to. The only thing that this really does is it gives the Chiefs a built-in excuse for when they lose.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Patrick Mahomes wasn't 100%. He was still hurt from the Browns. He was hurt from that trash play that the Browns threw on him, which you see all the memes and everything flying around about the mama calling the league, and she called the Browns trash for hitting him like that and blah blah blah. Come on, it's football, lady.
Yeah, people get hit all kinds of ways, and sometimes it's intentional, and sometimes you're just playing a contact sport and shit happens.
She's actually garnered quite the reputation of being the mom that's going to step in and take care of her son. You know, a few weeks ago, she got mad at the ESPN analyst for calling him Pat Mahomes instead of Patrick. She's like, his name is Patrick. His dad's name was Pat. It's like, come on, lady. Like, get over yourself. You're a superstar's mom. No one really cares about you.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Anyway, for the Browns and for the Nest podcast, it was pretty much a heartbreaker. You know, this Cleveland team, they put up the first season to be proud of since 2007 and recorded their first playoff win since 1994. But it was still a heartbreak. You know, when Mahomes went down, I kind of thought that opened the door for the Browns to sneak in there and actually steal one. But it didn't happen. I know they would rather win it legitimately, but at the same time, seeing the Browns play the Bills in the AFC Championship, oh man, what a hard-on that would have given football fans. Because those are two teams that for years have been just jokes around the league and have their fan bases are great, but they've been just beaten down. You know, if it wasn't just a few years ago that the Browns had a parade for an 0-16 team. So they've come a long way, and that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. They really played well, all things considered. Going against a juggernaut offense like that, I couldn't have asked for any more from them. I thought the same as you. I thought maybe with Patrick Mahomes out, they could attack. They just couldn't get it together. You know, it's hard to do. That's just it's what happens whenever the best teams are playing each other. And I think they can hang their hats on an absolutely great season. They beat the shit out of the Steelers last week, and I think that was almost as good as winning a Super Bowl for that fan base. And they didn't get completely blown out against the Chiefs either. You know, like you said, the Chiefs survived. It's not like the Chiefs went out there and put up 30 on them. They kind of kept up and made it a game, but it just so happened to be that they couldn't finish the way they wanted to. And I think they have something huge to build on here. I think Baker and Stefanski have kind of been clicking, and they've got great pieces on both sides of the football team. And I say just keep it rolling. You know, let's see what next year can bring. AFC Championship, maybe Super Bowl, who the hell knows? But definitely this was a great season for that organization and that fan base.
Do you think if they had ODB that they would have been able to get over that hump, that they would have had that extra firepower? Or are you of the persuasion that they actually play better without Odell?
That's a great question. I don't know. He obviously has a lot of talent, but I would have to imagine he's a bit of a diva. He probably stirs the pot in the locker room, and I don't know. I don't know what he's like to be around and to be a teammate of. It's hard to say. It really is. I don't know what his relationship with Baker is either. You know, obviously, I'm sure they respect each other's talents, but I don't know if they have a chemistry like you know, a quarterback and a wide receiver should. So that's a huge question mark.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I mean, I know that the Browns did seemingly start to play better once Odell Beckham tore his ACL. So it begs the question, are they going to even keep him on the roster for next season, or can they get rid of him, move Landry to that wide receiver one position that he played at towards the end of the season and try to get success somewhere else?
Yeah, honestly, if Odell doesn't want to play ball and wants to ask for a ton of money or whatever, this and that and the other, maybe it's best to just kind of part ways with him. I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that situation, because, like I said, you can't just ignore his talent. But he's like that ego kind of guy. You know, he's got a huge ego, and he does not leave it at the door. He brings it on the field with him, and he'll let you know. So it's hard to say.
Yep, I agree. In the last game in the divisional round that we got to see was the Buccaneers finally getting revenge over the Saints and Drew Brees and his what appears to be his last performance of all time. going into this, it was billed, Brady versus Brees. And I saw all the memes, oh, it'll be on the History Channel and stuff like that, which were hilarious, by the way. But, Tom Brady's career as a Buccaneer started off on a bit of a sour note because his first game didn't even have preseason, but his first game was against the Saints. And the Saints gave him his first L, welcomed him to the NFC South with a big L. And we kind of thought like, oh, well, all the hype of this Bucs team is for naught. We talked about it at the time that it was like, well, they've got all this talent, but they're not going to gel. They're not going to get to play together. Then in week 9, week 8, week 9, somewhere around there, the Bucs added Antonio Brown. And once they added Antonio Brown, again, people were like, uh-oh, this team's going to be the real deal. They're going to be the truth. Now they've got even more weapons and all this stuff. Week 9, the Bucs played the Saints once again and only scored 3 points in a blowout. Ended up being one of the top 5 worst performances of Tom Brady's career. He threw for 3 interceptions and 0 touchdowns in that game. And he wasn't able to get over the hump against the Saints. Well, when it counted, when the lights were the brightest, Tom Brady did what Tom Brady does, and he went out and he won a football game. It wasn't his greatest performance of all time. The defense really helped prop up that team, but he did end up throwing for around 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for another touchdown. But it was Drew Brees that ended up putting up one of his career worst games. He only managed to throw for 134 yards. He had 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Jameis Winston came in and threw the other Saints touchdown on a 56-yard trick play. Is this the last we've seen of Drew Brees?
Yes, I would have to say yes. I mean, just his demeanor at the end of the game and the things that he was doing just kind of alluded to the fact that was his last one. It's weird that he didn't make more of a deal about it. Maybe he wasn't decided or not or whatever. I don't know. But if I were him, I would kind of make a bigger deal out of that being my last game in the Superdome. I don't know. Maybe he didn't feel good about it because obviously, like you said, it was not a good performance. Who knows? But you got to think a guy like that. I mean, that is an absolute lifelong legend now in New Orleans. And for that last game and he not really, say much about it or whatever, it's kind of weird to me. But all accounts point to that being his last game.
Well, he does still have 1 year left on his contract, but with the injuries that he's been taking and the inability to throw the ball, Drew Brees is somebody who's always been an accurate quarterback, but he's been able to muscle up and throw a ball downfield whenever he needs to. In the past 2 or 3 seasons, he really hasn't had that deep threat anymore. Michael Thomas is kind of made fun of for being the slant king because that's pretty much all that Drew Brees hits him on is a little slant routes. And, I think it's time for somebody like Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still playing at a pretty elite level. He's still out there doing what he's supposed to do as a quarterback. Drew Brees just isn't doing that anymore. And, I've got a video of what happened that I want to queue up right now with Drew Brees. And this was his final moments leaving the Superdome. And this tells me everything that I need to know. See the look on his face. He knows that he's a beaten man at this point. And he's telling Winston like, yeah, it's you're the man now.
Yeah.
And let's see if I can find real quick here it is. This is the walk-off as he's leaving the field. He's taking his helmet off, waving to the fans, blowing kisses to the wife, blowing kisses to the family, even catching a few kisses. And then this right here is what gets me.
Yep.
That final look back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last look. That's somebody that's looking back for the final time to remember a place fondly. And then he walks on into the sunset.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy.
I in my heart of hearts, I feel that Drew Brees is gone.
Yeah.
I feel that he is going to retire. He'll probably announce it in the coming weeks. And this is a guy that in that moment, I couldn't help but to think about all of the people that said that he was too small, that he would never be an elite quarterback in the NFL. I couldn't help but think about the Chargers telling him that he would never play football again whenever he had his shoulder surgery. They gave up on him. They drafted Phillip Rivers instead, and they moved on from Drew. This is the man that put the city of New Orleans on his back after Katrina and brought them some of the happiest moments in the immediate aftermath of that. And that last look had so much heart, so much emotion. I can't imagine that he would have looked back like that if he was looking forward to playing next season.
Yeah, absolutely. That was 100% definitive too. And did you see the video of after the game when Tom came out and they kind of had some words and stuff like that, and his family was out there and stuff, and Tom threw a pass to his kid and stuff. I don't think you go out on the field and meet a guy like that and talk with his family and share hugs and stuff like that if he's going to play again.
Right.
That's a very special moment to share with a guy that obviously I'm sure Tom respects. They both have a mutual respect for each other's success and everything. So, yeah. I mean, that was obviously a very special, cool moment to see, but that's a send-off. That's a send-off from a guy who has your respect and, is showing that respect by coming out and saying, hey, that we had a hell of a time whenever we played each other and stuff. So, yeah, I would have to say that he's done.
Yep. I think so too. And that, makes us want to have to question, what are the Saints going to do now? They've got $16.5 million for a cap hit for Taysom Hill next season. This guy's going to be, out there trying to play, but he's never going to be at the level of Brees. He's always going to be a bit of a disappointment in that regard, right?
Yes, I fully expect this team to be a shit show without Drew Brees. Like you said, they've got a huge cap hit for Taysom Hill. Michael Thomas is making a crap ton of money. Kamara's making his money too. So I kind of expect them to just kind of go back and forth with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, and it'll be just a wild show to watch. Maybe Kamara can be the rock that keeps everything moving. I don't know. It's going to be a wild team to watch. I think it's just going to be a completely different team that we haven't seen before. They're not going to really have, obviously, the same quarterback that they have now. And it's just going to be strange to see.
Yeah. I kind of feel like the Saints have shot themselves in the foot with this, paying Taysom Hill as much money as they did before he had even started a game at quarterback was kind of a dumb move, in my opinion. I'm a doubter. I don't think Taysom Hill is a quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, maybe he's a good slot receiver. Maybe he's a decent running back. Maybe he does okay at tight end or whatever. But at quarterback, what you got. A guy that's not really going to stand back there and throw the ball, and a guy that's going to run first, throw second. Kind of like a generic Lamar Jackson, if you will.
Absolutely.
And the fact that this guy's getting paid $16 million, that's not huge for a quarterback, but you're not going to be able to go out and pay a guy 25 to 30 million if you're paying him 16 million to sit on your bench. Basically the same situation that the Eagles will be in with Carson Wentz if they don't deal him. You've got this guy that's getting paid all this money on your bench. That's a bad look. That's wasted money, basically. I actually think that the Saints are going to try to draft a quarterback this year and try to develop him. Maybe they will have a stinker season where they have to trot Taysom Hill out there 16 times and all that. But Jameis Winston's also a free agent. He may go somewhere else. So you can't bank on having him and being able to play both of them unless you're going to pay Jameis.
Yeah. Honestly, if Jameis is willing to come back and you can afford him, I would 100% bring him back because at least he's a quarterback who can throw. So I don't know what they're going to do, obviously.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And, Jameis Winston might not be the only big talent that's potentially on the move. We've got these rumors coming out of the Texans organization that whole thing is crumbling. Deshaun Watson wants out. He's made it perfectly clear that he's not happy there, and he doesn't want to stay on the Texans unless the owner fires himself. Basically, he's like, I don't want to play for this guy anymore. And if he's still the owner, I don't want to be here. That isn't likely to happen, so it's safe to say we'll see Deshaun playing with a new uniform pretty soon. The only question will be is where. And, everybody and their brother has a different prediction of where he's going to end up, or trying to piece it together a way that a trade would make sense. But I don't know, man. Like, the Texans are going to have to come off their asking price for a lot of these teams. A lot of these guys are sitting back waiting because they know, like, Deshaun's not happy. He'll probably just hold out if they don't trade him. So let's just wait until the price goes down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Then he might find himself on a team that no one's even suspecting. Oh, and by the way, J.J. Watt isn't happy about it either.
Yeah. I mean, can you blame him? When you trade one of the best wide receivers this generation has ever seen for peanuts, this is what happens. Your perennial players that everyone knows and are staples in the Texans organization are not happy. No shit. That's because you basically gutted their team, who were in the playoffs last year.
Yep.
And this year they were terrible.
4 wins, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was just god awful. This is obviously a consequence for getting rid of Deshaun Watson's absolute best wide receiver that he's ever played with. I have no idea what this organization is doing. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they just couldn't afford it. Maybe they decided to make their salary make sense by getting rid of D-Hop. But if you do that, then this is what happens.
Yep.
Your team can't win. Your franchise quarterback is unhappy, and this is what happens. And I feel really bad for those Houston fans, because they've had a lot of very good players on that team come and go, and they've hardly ever been able to make anything of it, and it sucks.
Yeah, our buddy Adam, he fell off on the Texans with the whole Andre Rison situation that came up. And I'd say even more people are jumping off that train now because of the mismanagement that's been going on. You sign Deshaun Watson to a huge contract, like $146 million or whatever it is. And in his contract, you say that he's going to have the ability to chime in on any kind of these organizational decisions. Like, they'll take his coaching preference into consideration. They'll take his, trade ideas into consideration and things like that. And then they go and hire a coach without even talking to him about it. Don't even interview the guy that he suggests. He wanted Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs, didn't even get a call. They hired a guy from the Patriots organization, actually, just boom. First guy they interviewed, they hired him. And Deshaun's not happy about that. He wanted his guy. He knew that he wanted to work with Bieniemy, and I guess everybody does, because he's been one of the hot commodities. But to not even extend a phone call is pretty mismanaged on the Texans organization. And if Deshaun and JJ are both playing somewhere else next year, that team is going to be horrendous.
Yeah, I completely agree. It sucks. It really does. I hope that Deshaun is able to find a good contending team to play with, because he's a great talent. I mean, he's very, very good at what he does. And I would hate to see another player waste his career in Houston like J.J. Watt has and like Andre Johnson has. You got to get out of there, man. I even if they do start listening to him, I don't see it working out. For whatever reason, that organization just
trash.
They just don't handle things right. You do not trade DeAndre Hopkins and that be a good move. Like, no. That doesn't happen.
Unless you're the Cardinals and you're on the receiving end of that trade and you're just like, oh, okay, a hubcap, a bag of peanuts. Yeah, we'll make that deal.
Ugh, God.
Coming up, we've got the championship round of the NFL playoffs. We've got the AFC and NFC championship, and it's pretty interesting. On the AFC side of the ball, we've got the young guns. We've got the Bills quarterback Josh Allen, and presumably the Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes as two of the young studs of the league. The league is in great hands because look around at all the great young talent that we have just at the quarterback position alone. Not only these two, but Lamar Jackson. You've got Dak Prescott, who's still a young quarterback that'll be coming back off of injury. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are about to make their presence known. Joe Burrow was balling before he got injured. You got a lot of good young guys. Jalen Hurts, these guys, like the future of the NFL is in good hands with all these young quarterbacks. But then on the NFC side of the ball, you've got the two old men. You've got Brady left and you've got Rodgers left. And so it's kind of funny that you got the old vets on one side and the young guns on the other. But Vegas has the odds pretty much about the same for both teams. They've got the home teams winning both games, which would be the Chiefs and the Packers. The Chiefs are a minus 160 favorite and the Packers are a minus 190 favorite going into the weekend. Is that kind of how you see it too, Zach?
It all depends on Patrick Mahomes. I think if he's out, then 100% Bills.
That flips, yeah.
If he's in, then you got to give the Chiefs at least the what do you call it? The favorite. And even still, I still think the Bills have a chance with Patrick Mahomes, but he's the deciding factor for sure.
Sure, absolutely. If he's out, then that definitely flips. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Bills are going to take it. I think the Bills are a better team. We've been saying for weeks that the only team in the AFC that can stop the Chiefs is the Bills. And here's that chance. Here is that moment that we're actually going to see. What we've talked about for weeks and what everybody else has been kind of scratching their head when we say it. Now's the time that we're going to see it. And I think the Bills get it done. So I think the Bills move on. And I think that the NFC got it right. I think the Packers are going to be able to win there in Lambeau.
Yeah, I mean, unless Tom Brady comes out and then just throws an insane game and lights up the field and each team scores 50 or something, I have to give it to the Packers. That Bucs defense will not be able to stop Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. If Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald couldn't do it, the Bucs damn sure won't be able to. So,
and you can't depend on Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 interceptions, and you can't depend on Robert Tonyan fumbling the ball as he's just running through the middle of the field. That Jared Cook fumble in that game was really the deciding difference maker. They were driving. If the Saints score on that drive, it's a completely different ball game. But he fumbled, the Bucs recovered, they had short field, they went on, scored. The rest is history. They just kept the pressure on. But if the Saints score on that drive alone, I think it's a much different game. The Packers aren't going to make as many of those little mistakes. I'm not going to say they're going to play a perfect game, but they're not going to make those little bitty mistakes.
Yeah, I completely agree. It would be kind of crazy to see, though, if Tom Brady does end up doing it and makes it to the freaking Super Bowl. That would be wild. But I mean, anything's possible. But that is a bit of a stretch. This Packers team is going to be very tough to beat.
Yep, I agree. They are going to be tough, especially there in Lambeau, especially with the chance of snow like it's supposed to be. Historically, whenever warm weather teams have to travel to cold weather environments to play, they don't perform the way that they normally do. And I know Brady has made a career out of playing in cold weather games, but the rest of his team haven't. And, he's not going to be able to be the difference factor. It's that weather. And if it's a cold, snowy day in Lambeau, you got to lean toward it being the Packers.
Right. And you got to think, like we've said before, in those snowy, cold games, you try to tend to lean on your running game. Leonard Fournette has played his entire career in Southern America, in Florida, in Louisiana. So
yep,
the cold will not be his friend.
That is a very good point. And, he's not been very good in the cold weather. He's not really been very good, period, this year. But it is what it is. Ronald Jones, he came up gimpy quite a few times. They said that he was good to go for the game, but he really couldn't open it up. And the few times that he did try to open it up, like down the sideline, he would come up limping and have to go and sit out for a few plays. So Ronald Jones, you can't really rely on him being the workhorse that he's been for the majority of the season. They're not going to be able to sling the ball around in a cold, windy environment like that. So I definitely gotta say that Aaron Jones will have the advantage in the run department.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk a little bit about baseball. News kind of came out this week that Rob Manfred is implementing the 7-inning doubleheader and the runner start on second and the 10th inning extra innings, and they're negotiating if they're going to keep the DH. And I sent you that news the other day, and you're like, yeah, leave it to them to still negotiate the one thing that everybody liked, the one thing that everybody enjoyed from this past season. They're not even sure that they want to bring it back. And baseball wonders why they're losing fans.
Yeah. I do not get it. The 7-inning thing, I guess, to make the doubleheaders go quicker or whatever. But that and the 10th inning thing does not make the game more exciting, in my opinion. I don't think you're going to draw in fans that weren't going to watch baseball regardless by changing this crap. I think what would draw fans in is to not have to watch a pitcher strike out. If you could have a guy who could hit home runs, hit doubles, whatever, in place of that pitcher, then maybe it'd be more exciting. And that's the one thing that they still have not made a decision on.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous to me because that seems to be what everybody likes, what everybody wants. And like you said, that's what sells the tickets. That's what people are going to get drawn to. Nobody wants to see a pitcher go out there and strike out on 3 straight pitches looking every 9 batters. That's not fun. It's not, I guess you could say, well, I like the strategy of pinch hitting and all that stuff. Yeah, that's great. Well, you can pinch hit for a designated hitter too. Why start the game with that disadvantage instead of having somebody who all they do is prepare to hit, ready to come in there? I mean, I'm a little bit biased, I guess, because I'm a fan of an American League team. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan that's had one of the clutch designated hitters of all time. But everybody that I've talked to that's a National League fan, they're in favor of it. They want to see the designated hitter. I've got a Braves fan at work that's like, yeah, I would love to see a DH. That way we could keep, somebody like Ozuna. And I know you as a Cardinals fan, you feel the same way.
Yeah. I think if the DH was in place in the National League, the Cardinals and Ozuna would have came to a deal. I just don't think that the Cardinals had the want to spend that much money on a guy who can't field. Yep. And if they were able to put him in a DH spot, I think he'd still be a Cardinal. I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there that would absolutely fit the mold for a DH. And I don't know what the hang-up is. I don't know what is causing these negotiations. I don't know why this isn't just an automatic thing. I really don't know what's holding them back. But this needs to happen yesterday. There should be no question. I can't think of any owner who wouldn't want to have this opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that it's been in negotiation for so long, and maybe they're trying to use it as some kind of leverage, some kind of like ploy to get people on board with something or whatever, but I don't get it either, man.
I wonder if the CBA has something to do with it.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I'm kind of thinking that the CBA is what they're trying to hold back for. Like the league is trying to get something else, and the CBA is what really is the counter hinge or whatever that they're saying, like, okay, well, we'll give you this, but the designated hitter thing, you're going to have to work with us on or whatever. I don't know. It is interesting though.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks because, man, there's no new baseball fans. You know what I mean? Like we're not gaining fans. We're only kind of pushing people away. I mean, sure, you're going to have those people that are fans of their teams, but it's not like they're going out there and just and creating new stuff. You know, it sucks. It really does, because obviously the NFL is super popular, but you got to think, if somehow you could grab the attention of all these young kids, they'd have something to watch all summer long. And I don't get why you wouldn't want to try wholeheartedly at that. You've got an absolute buffet spread of all-star talent. There's so many stars in baseball. You got to capitalize on that kind of stuff.
Well, and to that point, Major League Baseball needs to make it easier to see these teams. You know, yeah, you got it. You know, you can have a game on every night of the week, but unless you pay to see your specific team, all you're getting shoved down your throat are the local teams on the local networks. The MLB should really be doing something to, you know, have access to be able to watch other teams for anybody that has a basic cable plan. You know, one of these networks like ESPN or Fox Sports or TBS or something like that, they should show a different team every night. You know, it wouldn't be hard for them to have, all right, 7:00, let's get the Rockies and the Diamondbacks tonight. Lord knows they're playing every night. Why not show them on TV? You know, I live in Florida. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I get to see the Rays and the Marlins. And if neither one of them happen to be playing, I get the Braves. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to log on to my MLB TV app to get to watch any of the Red Sox games unless they happen to be playing against the Rays or the Marlins.
Which is another ridiculous thing. Blackouts because the teams are playing locally. What is that? Like, obviously, that's like a TV deal so that Fox Sports and whoever else get those views and they don't all go to MLB TV. But that is completely stupid. If you buy NFL Sunday Ticket, it doesn't matter if the Chiefs game is playing on CBS or wherever. You can freaking watch it.
Yep. I think that is something that really needs to be looked at in the future. They need to figure this stuff out, because making it harder for fans to watch your sport seems counterintuitive to building the sport and making it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that one, because I could talk for hours about how how frustrating it is and how upset I get at MLB. You know, just the fact that they don't even really give back to like the T-ball and like the little leagues and stuff like that. In fact, it's the opposite. To have a T-ball league or a little league where you wear the major league hats and jersey names and stuff like that. Like if you want your little league to be the Dodgers or the Cardinals or whatever, it costs a ton more money than to just have a generic team name.
That is so stupid.
I would think that MLB would want to encourage these kids to dress like their stars. You would want a kid to be, oh, I'm Dodgers number 50 on my little league team because that's what Mookie Betts wears. I would want, you know, my guys to be a Padres number 13 because that's what Manny Machado wears. Or I would want a Yankees number 99 because that's what Aaron Judge wears. You know, but instead, these kids or these parents of these kids have to shell out extra money if their league goes. And I think that's absolute crap. If you want to build the sport, make it more accessible to the kids.
Mm-hmm. It should be the exact opposite. I think major league teams should sponsor little league teams and
absolutely
pay for the damn kids to play. You should go into, you know, the less fortunate areas of the cities that teams are in, and pick a neighborhood and whatever, and say, hey, we're gonna start a league or a team or whatever, and these kids are just going to be able to play for free. They're going to be able to wear Padres jerseys, and they're going to be able to be whoever. And that's how you make little kids interested in baseball. I mean,
Yep.
unless you have a parent that's a fan, if you're a kid growing up right now, you're probably not going to stumble on baseball and start to become a fan. You're going to be watching YouTube, you're going to be playing your video games, and that's about it. Kids these days do not have any interest or anything pulling them towards baseball. And it's really stupid that MLB charges little league teams to wear their stuff. That is just completely asinine. They're $1 billion teams, and they can't figure that out. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep, stupid. And to your point, you weren't in a family that liked baseball. Your family didn't ever watch baseball, didn't encourage you to go out and play, didn't bring you to major league games or anything like that. So you found baseball as an adult because you had a friend who kept pushing it on you and saying, "Hey, this is something you should be paying attention to."
Yep.
And then finally it clicked. And a lot of kids, they grow up that exact same way where they don't have that influence because it's been such a dying sport for a long time, and people even our age aren't interested in the game, so they're not going to pass it on to their kids. And then when that generation is old enough to have kids, they're not going to pass it on to their kids either.
Yep.
So it's just getting worse and worse for MLB, and unless they turn it around somehow and figure out we need to hook the kids, it's going to be gone.
Yep.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. I have a buddy who's a Cubs fan, and a year or two ago, it was almost spring training, and me and him we were all kind of hanging out, and he was talking about hockey. And I kind of try to follow it a little bit, but I was like, honestly, man, I'm just super excited for spring training, and I cannot wait to start watching that. And he was like, spring training? It doesn't even count yet. And I was just like, I know, I get it, but I'm just freaking excited for it. So there's not that many people that are that excited.
And that's another part of the problem is, people that are baseball fans, even, they don't even care. A lot of them don't even care until it's October.
Yep.
Some of them start to trickle in September whenever it's, the pennant chase. But for a lot of people, they're playoff baseball fans.
Yep.
We can watch a spring training game and enjoy it because it's baseball, and that's pure baseball. You're watching just for the love of the sport. In spring training, you don't really get to see the big name stars that often. They might come out for the first couple innings, and then after that, you're watching minor leaguers playing.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't even get into that. Speaking of minor league, did I tell you that the Jumbo Shrimp are now a AAA affiliate?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked on that. Pretty stoked that I'm going to get to go and see some AAA baseball.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll see like a huge difference in like the talent and stuff like that, and see if the players are actually that much better, or if it's just kind of almost the same. I don't really know the difference. Obviously, AAA is right under minor league, but I wonder if there's a big jump from double to triple.
Ben says that he's glad that he lives in England because America is such a messed up country. I think that he's probably referring to what we were saying about MLB not sponsoring the kids, but in more ways than one.
Yeah, for sure. And people have also said, like, I don't see how I can't keep up with it. There's too many games and this and that and the other. Mm-hmm. Personally, I love that. For one, it gives you something to watch for months. And two, a team can go from shitty to good to shitty to great to okay and make it to the playoffs. And, you never know what you could get. Just because they lose 4, 5, 6, 7 games doesn't mean their season's over. If your NFL team loses 6 games, you're mediocre.
Yep, absolutely. You can go on a 10-game skid in Major League Baseball and still end up with one of the best records in the playoffs. And it's the nature of it, the ebbs and flows of the 162 season. I love it. I enjoy having something to turn on every night that isn't, some crappy sitcom or some reality TV show or whatever it is. I like having a baseball game to tune into. That's what I do. I know, coming up in the next few months, I'll be sitting here at my desk doing my homework with a baseball game pulled up beside me, and I can't wait.
Yep, absolutely. I love watching players progress, I love guys who start out no name and end up being absolute studs. I love guys who are in a slump and get out of it and, work their ass off and start doing well. I think it's really awesome to see. And I think the minor league system is cool too, because you go down and you learn what you have to do and you come up and who knows what happens. You might be the next absolute superstar. So I think it's cool. I'm super excited for it too.
Yep. And we'll talk more about it as we get into the spring training and into the season. We'll probably have Brad back on sometime soon to talk about some of these recent moves that have been happening in Major League Baseball and if Trevor Bauer will ever sign anywhere. There's been quite a few signings coming and going, nothing super major. I know DJ LeMahieu went back to the Yankees after teasing that he was going to go somewhere else, and some other guys floating around, but nothing really substantial.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit more later, and hopefully this thing will work a little bit better next week so that we can have our regular football crowd in here to talk about that championship week.
Yeah, I feel bad for the football guys because they missed a show for whatever reason. I can't see why it wouldn't work, but if you didn't catch the live, you can always catch the podcast. So there's that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, we'll be back next week. Thanks to the guys that did tune in and comment along with us. We appreciate that as always. I will be going live tomorrow night on the football group. So if you want to join me on that, Zach, you're more than welcome to. If not, we'll see you next week. Peace.